just talking about just because your kids don't live at home doesn't mean your life's not crazy busy.
Yeah, like I said, we're watching our kids, and I said, that's what she said, this will be a quick tonight. I go, no, let it drag out till the kids are at least in bed.
Yeah, I get that.
3 or 4 and a 1-year-old, yeah, let get them all in bed before I go.
How old is it?
3, 4, and 1.
That's really busy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start.
Yeah, I'm just.
Mike, are you okay if we start, or?
They were out in Louisville for several years. So now these 2 is 3 and 4-year-old, and they're twins, and they feed off each other, and they just, it's like twins. And they just,
That's tricky. That's a really close age.
and then they got
And you can't just take off and go to work.
what?
You can't just take off and go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
We got another one coming in February. Jordan will have 4 kids.
Okay. I'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission meeting for December 10th, 2023. This meeting is being recorded. We're going to have an opening prayer this evening by Commissioner Callis and a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Showers.
Our gracious Father in heaven, we bow our heads before Thee this evening as we convene this meeting of the Lindon City Planning Commission and public who have gathered here tonight. We pray that Thy Spirit will be with us here as we discuss and review and consider the things for our community. We pray that we will make wise decisions for those who are applying and for the interests of the city. We're thankful for our beautiful community, for the beauties around us, for the good people that reside here, and we pray that this holiday season all will be blessed with peace and happiness and safety. We say these things now, Father, and do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to begin our meeting this evening with an audible roll call of commissioners. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Jared Showers.
here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Stephen Johnson.
Here.
Karen Danielson. Here. And Scott Thompson.
Here.
Okay. And item number 2 on our agenda, this is the approval of the minutes. This would be for the minutes of November 28th, 2023. Commissioners have received these ahead of time, had a chance to review those. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? I went through them and I thought they looked great. So, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. The next item on our agenda, this is a time for public comment. This would be for any items not already on the agenda for this evening. Is there anyone here for that purpose? Okay, the next item on our agenda then is item number 4. This is a minor subdivision approval for Sondra Estates at 425 North Locust Avenue. Our applicant is Sean Sondra. Are you here, sir? If you'd like to come up, please. And there should be a place you can sign in there. Okay, and our presenting staff is Mary Barnes.
Thank you, Commissioner Cole. All right, so Sean Sondrup, Mr. Sondrup is seeking minor subdivision approval for his currently 1.22 acre parcel along Locust Avenue at the corner of 400 North and Locust Avenue. Lot 1, let me go to the proposed subdivision. Lot 1 would have the existing Sondrup home on it, and then Lot 2 would be a completely new lot for a new family to move in, a new single-family home, that kind of thing. Lot 1 is, obviously, this entire property has kind of an interesting configuration, an existing interesting configuration. I went back to about 1999, and that's when these lot lines really solidified with those. I don't know if you guys were the owners back then. Okay, with those previous owners. But Lot 1 will be a double frontage street here, fronting onto Locust Avenue and 400 North. This is existing. The code does talk about wanting to limit double frontage lots as much as possible. Because this is something that's existing, we aren't requiring Mr. Sondrup to, I don't even know what he could do. This is his property. So one of the conditions in your staff report today is that Lot 1 will be approved as a double frontage lot, and you could add existing double frontage lot if you wanted. But that was added to help satisfy the part of the code that talks about wanting to prohibit double frontage lots. The applicant will be dedicating 0.04 acres of right-of-way to the city with this subdivision, and here are some of those improvement plans. Going into some of the lot size requirements, this plat will meet the minimum lot size, lot width, lot depth, and public street frontage requirements in our R120 code. With the subdivision requirements, the applicant does or will meet all of these requirements, such as the applicant is technically still currently working to notify all the public utility companies, but we are working with him on that, and that's something that we'll take care of, after this approval. The city engineer has put a few more comments onto the road improvements and the civil plans, and so the city engineer will be working with the applicant through those and his engineer through those remaining comments. But other than that, we are fully confident that this Sondrup Estates plat and improvements will be able to comply with the code and all remaining land use standards before final approval from the city engineer. And that's included in condition 1, which says the applicant will continue to work with the city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering documents and plat. This is fairly straightforward, but please, if there's any questions for me or Mr. Sondrup, please feel free.
Just for my education, it says the applicant will be dedicating 0.04 acres of right-of-way to the city. Where is that?
So yeah, let me kind of show you. I'll just show you on this little aerial map here. So if you see up in, let me go to the real map. Be a little bit bigger. But since this is an existing parcel in the city, it hasn't been subdivided before. That just means that the lot lines don't currently meet our current standards. So Locust Avenue is required to be a 66-foot right-of-way. And if you see right here, so this is the Sondrup property. Let me see if I can get the aerial on instead. There you go. Here's the Sondrup property on this side. Oh, can't even see my cursor. There you go. That's a Sondrup property right there. If you can see this, this property line next to the ASD, it jogs out a tiny bit right here. So, and then this line also jogs in a tiny bit right here. Anyways, so Mr. Sondrup will be dedicating just a sliver of land to the city to make sure we have that 66-foot right-of-way. And then when the Nelsons across the road, when they decide to subdivide or improve their property, then they will have to probably, they'd have to figure out whatever this jog is doing as well. So like I said, it's just older lots have different property lines. You know, some people's lot lines go out into the middle of the road, but they've just never gotten around to dedicating it to the city. But the city, it is going to be the city's right-of-way at one point in time, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, I just didn't understand that too well.
Yeah, totally. Good question.
Okay.
Got any? Yeah.
Any
I didn't-
questions for
Water share,
Mary
have the water
or
shares all
for-
been handled by the prior owner?
I believe so, but I think, when we bought the property, we had enough for that, but they're looking into that, so,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's something that we've looked into, so, that Evan is looking into.
So they will be able to get non-culinary water or irrigation water at that property?
I'm pretty sure I looked into that and it has been paid. It's been maybe a month or so, but I'm fairly sure that it has already been paid. I can't pull up the map here. It doesn't have the software on this computer, but
That's something we would confirm before we sign the subdivision.
yeah. That's one of the final things that we go through with the engineering as well, the engineers.
And is there gonna be curb and gutter now installed there, or no?
So we do have, so it's required that every subdivision has curb and gutter, has the full public street improvements installed. And Mr. Sondrup is providing a plan showing all of that. He's been talking to the engineers about possibly doing a fee in lieu, so paying the entire amount, and then, you know, I guess we would come in at a later point. The engineers are still trying to figure out if that's gonna be something that we would want to do. I think that it's been done in the past, but I don't know how much it's been done, you know, recently. So that's something that they're still working on looking at with the Public Works Director. But either way, the improvements will be going in.
It doesn't look like there is sidewalk, curb and sidewalk north or south of it, correct?
No, there's not.
The first sidewalk is,
And that corner really ought to be done at the same time.
yeah, it would be nice to have that corner done. I mean, there's no sidewalk along that whole side of
The other side.
400.
I think the problem that they were looking at is it's kind of got, it kind of comes to a slope between where my two properties meet, kind of goes like this, so they were trying to figure out that exactly, how that would work. So right now, if you put it all the way to 400, there's nothing right there at all, there's no
Right.
curb and gutter there.
Hasn't that been an issue for the kids and stuff walking to school, or Steve?
Especially now with a four-way stop there, it would be nice to have some type, but it's a problem all along Locust and all along 400. It's not just this property, but, you know, there's no way for the kids. I mean, now that there's a four-way stop, it'd actually be nice to have crosswalks and the kids could cross there to get to the schools, but there's no sidewalks around that area.
And
Haven't been.
that's something that the engineers are also working with, because there's nothing on the ASD property. I think they'll be working it out with Mr. Sondrup and his engineer.
Okay, any other questions or?
Do you have plans for it? Just selling it as a vacant property, or family, or?
No, we don't currently have plans for it, but just want to get it done before prices continue to go up as far as like development, you know, so, yeah, no current plans. We have some things that we're thinking about, but, yeah, so.
So you're gonna currently do you're gonna do the tie-ins and everything now?
If it's required by Lindon City, yes, but that's still kind of what we're deciding what to do. So when we talked initially, they said that we could build a house on there and then maybe put like a mother-in-law or something in the back. So that's also something we might do. And then just rent it out. We don't know, so.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Are we ready for a motion then?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I move to approve the applicant's request for minor subdivision approval for located at.
Oh,
for a s-
sorry.
Request for a minor subdivision located at 425 North Locust with conditions 1 through 5. Any, on all items including the staff report, and want to clarify that lot 1 has been approved for double frontage lot.
okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, the next item on our agenda, this is item number 5, Sunrise Warehouse Park Condominiums, Plat B, at 860 West, 200 South. Our applicant is Ryan Litke. Is that one of?
I'm his business partner, he's out of town.
Okay, if you'd like to come up. And what's your name, sir?
Dustin Cutler.
Okay, did you get that? Okay. Okay, and our presenting staff is Mary Barnes.
Thank you. All right. So this is most likely a familiar property. This came before you last year, and it's been under construction pretty much ever since. I'll go to that approved site plan from last year. So yeah, last year, this came before you as a minor subdivision and a site plan and a zone change. They had to change a few of the zones of the, northern part of the property. It was approved for 2 warehouses. Building 1 has 8 units, and then building 2 has 4 units. This application before you today was simply to convert those 2 warehouse buildings into commercial condo units, as shown here. So to essentially legally separate the buildings so the units can be sold to owners.
Didn't this come to us as a condominium one time and then it changed and now it's back?
It was a storage,
Was a storage
a
unit.
storage
When it
unit
was
place.
storage units, it was,
Condominium.
but when they came to us, they planned on condominiumizing it at a later date.
And I think something that we talked about last year when this came before you guys was this is probably a better use than condominiumized storage units, and who knows what's going on back there, whereas these are going to be businesses that are hopefully leaving at night, coming back in the morning, that kind of thing. Anyways, going into some of the lot requirements and the subdivision requirements, they meet everything. Staff has gone through the CC&Rs and the bylaws and the articles of incorporation, and they're all compliant. Yesterday, we did receive an email from a local resident. He was concerned about having 12 new businesses in here and what's that going to do to the traffic on 200 South and 400 West. We replied to him about that concern, just saying that the warehouses have already been approved. This is more of a, legally separating the units. There's going to be 12 new businesses there anyways, is what I'm trying to say. So we were able to reply to him about that. And then due to a recent change in the code that, we've been talking about in the past few planning commission meetings, the planning commission is the final land use authority on major subdivisions. So with that, if there's any questions for me or Mr. Cutler, I'd be happy to answer them.
What are we planning? Did we talk about fencing between the residential and that? What's planned there now?
Planned and approved was the masonry fence on top of the black wall. And for a section that's already been put in between us and Mr.
Nilsson?
Yeah, Mr. Nilsson, sorry. I was gonna say Roberts, but his name is Robert Nilsson, sorry. So his section is already in.
Right here.
There's a parcel, so the Nilsson property, that section of masonry fence is already in. The next section will be put in along the rest of the residential. Probably here in March, we have to put some more retaining walls and get a lot of dirt out of the way. So,
Is there quite a grade differential there?
yeah. So along the back wall of Mr. Nilsson's property and the King property, we had to build up about 16 feet of the big concrete block stuff. And then the masonry, or then the concrete fence sits on top of that to stop them. And then to make the Kings happy, we paid for a vinyl fence up on their property. So there will be actually two fences that are like 6 feet apart. But they wanted one up on their elevation so they didn't have to look down if they walked to the back of their property.
How high is that masonry wall from their lots,
From their lot, from the Kings?
from the elevations of those residential?
I don't understand.
The code requires a 7-foot fence minimum, right?
Right.
And so are you measuring that from your ground level or theirs?
Their ground level is the same on each side of the fence. We built up the rock
Build
wall.
it up with the retaining.
So their yards are
Retaining
both
wall.
flat now.
Okay.
So, and Rob, when we approved this site plan, we approved it with the condition that it be measured from the residential side.
That's what I thought,
Mhm.
that's what I.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's all been taken care of.
Yeah.
Plus you put in a double fencing with the vinyl on the King
I do my
side.
best. We've probably spent an additional $30,000 to $40,000 trying to keep the Mr. Nilsson and the Kings happy. I always want to be a good neighbor, and I don't want anything that we're doing as a development. You know what I mean? They functioned there just fine before I came along, so I wanted to make sure they were happy. So the Kings wanted a vinyl fence because she doesn't like the style of the concrete and didn't want to see it. So we went ahead and paid for a vinyl fence, and to make the city requirement, we have to put in. So there's two fences. So from our side, you'll look up and it'll look like a masonry fence, but on the other side, from her side, she got the vinyl fence she requested.
That's great,
Very generous of you.
yeah.
I don't know why she wanted it that way. I look at it and I'm like, but that's what she wanted. Mr. Nilsson, I know, is planning on building a building back there. I don't believe he's actually talked to anybody at the city about his ideas of what he wants to do back there. So he wants a slot for his horses, so he wants to do like a pole barn back there. So we had to get it up to grade for him to have a nice flat area.
Remember when this was an apartment, when this was gonna be
Storage.
a storage unit, there was question about the heating and air. It was one for the whole unit. These are all individually heated and cooled units.
So this property was foreclosed on. I had nothing to do with the
That was a
previous
whole
plan.
other-
That
Yeah,
was a
that
whole-
was
I-
that was a whole other group, so.
Okay.
Our plan, yeah, each of these, so today it's basically, we've actually built here in the city, as you go over towards the power plant on 200, we built a complex back there, it's gotta be 7 years ago now, right to the right there. We individualize them, we found our market fits well, that there's a lot of small businesses that actually wanna own their own space, so they don't have to worry about releasing every 5-7 years or whatever. Like our office is just right on Sam White down in Pleasant Grove, and in similar units to this. We just found that our niche market is kind of to build these commercial buildings and sell them off as
Condos.
individual units. Our goal is to end up owning probably 6 of these total, 6 in the big buildings, sell off the 4 small ones. In fact, we already have expressed interest on the 4 small units, or 3 of the 4 small units, and then one gentleman who wants to buy units would be 1 and 8, the very front units, and then myself and my business partner would keep the back half as an investment. So,
As an investment, then what would you do with those buildings
just rent them out.
Individual businesses.
to businesses?
So we have units 4 and 5, we have a letter of intent, from a tenant who actually is right over by the buildings right behind the Les Olson Company there. They're in about 3,000 feet right now, and their business has grown. And I don't know what it is, but they sent over a letter of intent to lease units 4 and 5 in the big building. So they like the location, they just need more space, so they're going from 3,000 to 14,000 feet, so.
Good for you.
Okay. I know we have some public here where this isn't a public hearing, but if you have comments, we would
Or questions? Fine.
let you make those comments. Is there questions you have?
Sure.
Uh-huh. You need to come up to the front. We have a lot of people online that listen, and so we need the microphone. Thank you, sir.
My name is Doug Bradford, and my wife and I own the southernmost property, so it's at the corner of 800 West and 200 South.
That corner.
Bradford, right there. One question I have is, where will the business traffic be coming in? Will it be off of 200 South or off of 800 West?
So I can answer that really quick. All business traffic, anything to do with this property is going to come through 200 South. 400 West is simply the fire department required a second access.
An emergency.
So it's
800
only for
800
emergencies.
West,
Yeah, 800 West is through Robert Nielsen's property is only for emergencies. Everything will be, except for emergencies, it will be exclusively 200 South.
Okay, that's good. Well, my wife and I have both been concerned about what this may result in the way of additional traffic, additional noise, lighting at night, any of those things.
Last year at the site plan approval, we talked about lighting. That was something that the commission was really concerned about as well. And I'm not sure if you remember. You weren't there? Okay. I could probably pull up the staff report from back then, but I believe Ryan Litke, who's the one we were working with primarily back then, was he made sure that all the lighting was on the building or pointed away, specifically pointed away from everyone. And let me pull it up and so I can say it properly.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I know we were talking about lighting and stuff, but maybe that's a question we can talk about after or something, because
That's true.
we probably need to stay focused on the subdivision of the property. 'Cause
Right.
we've already approved the site plan. We've reviewed the photometric study that shows the lighting isn't spilling over. And so, but Mary and I would be glad to show the details of the plan at another time, if that'd be helpful.
Would that be okay? Because what we're dealing with tonight is not the lighting. That's already been approved, but our city staff would be happy to review that with you so that you know exactly how that's going to work. And I know we were careful with the developer to make sure that was, the lighting was okay for the residents around the site. So would
Okay,
that be
well,
okay if our
yeah.
city staff went over that with you so you understand
That's fine.
what protections we put in place?
And I'll talk with Mr. Cutler separately about the walls that are going to have to go up along our property.
Okay,
Okay.
and that would be great. We appreciate you being here at the meeting though. Okay, any other questions?
So, seemed like in meetings.
Yes, another.
Did you have a question?
Sir?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay,
My name is Blake Campbell, and we live on the lot that's on the north. That's my mother's property. And I think this might be something we need to discuss later with the planner
Okay.
and the owners.
Okay.
But we're looking at what's going on developed around us, and we're realizing that the lot we have is with the neighbor. There's 2 lots there. There's an extra acre in the back of each of these, but this piece has been basically landlocked as the options to subdivide and sell or subdivide and develop are just not possible anymore. There's only 3 neighbors, including this development, and so we were wondering if we could officially talk about that with
okay.
the owners and the planning.
And that would be something that would need to be addressed outside of this meeting.
Sure.
But our city staff is glad to go over things with you.
Perfect.
So, with any questions you might have.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all.
I'm just trying to understand, it seems like in meetings
that we've had regarding this parcel, the owner of that existing building that's there in the front was here. I think Fazari used to be in there, is that the building?
Yeah, that's the building.
Yeah. An old-
So, have you acquired that property from him, or?
No, when he bought that building, I'm sorry. Oh, come on, sorry.
Please.
And the reason why I'm asking that is that it seemed like there was an access agreement that was put in place so that you could get to that parcel. And is there a need for that anymore, or are you
That-
incorporating
that
that
is the
building?
access.
That is the
That is
access,
the
so
access,
the access approval is up through there.
Yeah, I'm with you, but are you gonna incorporate this new, building, that you're taking the existing building and condominiumizing it, is that correct?
No, not the existing one, the two buildings we're building, like
The new
the
one.
building on the left, which is building units 9, 10, 11, and
Okay.
12.
So you're not doing anything with that existing building?
No,
Okay,
nothing
I
to do with the
misunderstood.
existing. Yeah,
Okay.
there is 4 or 5 businesses in that building.
Okay.
Okay, does that answer your questions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Rob, did you? It seemed like you had a question.
No, I got it answered.
Okay, anyone else?
I think it's just
Yeah,
having had so many applications on that before the real deal came, I think that you have to refresh your memory after a year of an approval. But I think we
Well-
ended up with a far superior product than what we would have had, but
if we were gonna do the storage
Yeah.
units and have those individually owned, this is a much better option. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Are we ready to make a motion on it? Do you want to, Mike?
yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
I move to approve the applicant's request for approval of the Sunrise Warehouse Park condominiums, Plat B, with the following conditions. Number one, the applicant will continue to work with city staff to make all final corrections to the plat for recording. Two, prior to plat recording, the applicant will provide staff with a final plat Mylar to include notarized signatures of owner's consent to dedications as identified on the attached subdivision plat. Three, prior to recording, the applicant will provide staff with a final set of CC&Rs and bylaws to include notarized signatures. Four, the plat will meet the applicable requirements as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. Number five, final covenants, conditions, and restrictions will be recorded with the subdivision plat. And six, all items of the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay, and those of you that have questions, our city staff will be happy to work with you on those.
I just wrote my number on these. I know you guys probably have it.
What's that? I think it's-
It's tough.
Okay, item number 6 on our agenda. This is a commercial farm zone ordinance amendment discussion, so there won't be any kind of motion or anything on this item. It's a discussion only. And we'll turn the time over to Mike Florence, the applicant's Lindon City.
This was a request from the planning commission a few weeks ago. You asked us to put some information together to discuss the characteristics of the lots down at Anderson Farms. And so I just wanted to go through those briefly, and then we can have a discussion about it. But, you know, as a reminder, the state legislature allows cities to prohibit accessory dwelling units on lots less than 6,000 square feet. And then also the city can prohibit 25% of its residentially zoned areas for accessory apartments. And so the areas that the city has prohibited so far is the Anderson Farms, Creekside Village area, to the west of the city, and then the
Songbird?
portion of Songbird Cove that's single family. And so those are the areas, I think those areas take up about 6% of the residential areas that are zoned residential. So with this map here, you can see the different areas. So you've got Creekside Village, and then the different plats for Anderson Farms. And so I provided you a summary here of the different lot sizes or average lot sizes, and then minimum to maximum square feet of each lot. Now, a lot of these on the subdivision plats, those big lots, especially in phases, E, G, C, and A, those larger lots are usually your corner lots, coming around a radius or something. And some of those are very large. They're, up to 15,000 square feet, but
Not a lot of parking.
not a lot of frontage and not a lot of parking, but bigger lots. And so, one thing Mary went through for us also was she went through and determined how many second kitchen agreements that we've issued down in Anderson Farms as well. Does that do Creekside as well, or just Anderson?
I couldn't find any in Creekside, and I think it's because there's no basement.
There's no basement, yeah.
So,
Have to do an addition if they wanted to.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And so in Anderson Farms, you've got approximately 13 second kitchens that we've approved. We know a few of those have also put in, access stairways down to the basement on the side yard. That was one of the reasons that led to our recent code update about the side yard stairway projections, so that they didn't take up the entire side yard. And so we've got some stars here that show where each second kitchen is. Hopefully those are truly second kitchens, but we do know of a few that have added stairs, and they're probably accessory dwelling units. So
If they were using that accessory dwelling unit for family, would there be a problem with that?
no, and we have had a couple
Oh.
people reach out to us about that. So,
Yeah.
but we've also had a few complaints saying, hey, there's 8 cars here, and
Right.
I don't see people using the front door and stuff. So one of the things we want to look at too, the city did narrow the road widths at Anderson Farms. The typical asphalt width for the single-family neighborhood is 29 feet of asphalt, where over at Creekside Village, it's 34 feet of asphalt. So wider streets, as we think about and have this discussion, on-street parking is something that we're going to want to discuss about this while we, parking down at Ivory Homes or Anderson Farms would probably might have to be a little different, because like our current ordinance says parking can't be in the front setback. Is that true? So it's got to be in the side yard, because in our R120 and R112 lots, we've got bigger lots for parking, and so we would need to probably write something that allowed parking on the driveway.
Very few of those lots have enough in the front yard to allow that. They're pretty close on the sides.
Yeah, we would just have to allow it on the driveway, because the typical setbacks down there are 5 or 6 feet on each side of the home. Is that the same with Creekside Village?
No, we have, our side yards are bigger,
Okay.
yeah. You can park a car between, easy, yeah.
So, just kind of want to have a discussion, what some of your thoughts are, if that's something you want we'd probably go talk to the city council next, but if that's something you would like us to bring up next year, and what are some parameters do you think that we'd want to do for accessory apartments down there. Couple, another thing to think about, the legislature is always putting a target on cities to allow more accessory apartments, and, I do see it. One good aspect of it is it does help people afford home ownership. It does help offset that cost, getting into a home when you've got someone making half your mortgage payment on a $700,000 home, so.
Well, first, based on the lot sizes, they vary so radically depending on the plats. There is some like the Plat C, there's no way. I mean, there's no parking, there's no nothing. I mean, that's just a little, that was designed as a 55 plus, but it never became that. It's now there's a lot of families in there who are trying to survive. But if you drive through there, I can't imagine piling more cars in there because they're packed so tight. So I think we'd have to, if we were to ever approve it. I mean, my daughter lives down in Plat D, which is the larger ones, which is 10,000 square foot. And even hers with the 29-foot streets, when there's cars parked on both sides of the street, it feels pretty tight. It feels pretty tight even down there on the larger lots. But I don't know, it'd be difficult to say plat this, plat that,
Well, we would just use right now we have a map. Let me go to that really quick.
Yeah, on the R2 overlay code.
The trickiest ones are these ones, like,
Possible to put
that house has zero
a
parking.
distance between
You know what I mean? It's the
apartments
corner like that, they're so tight.
to prevent every one.
I thought they all had to be 6 feet, the
No, he means,
setback on the sides.
Like a separation distance, you could have one here, but you couldn't have another one for 100
More
feet or
lots
200 feet
is
or.
what Rob's
Oh, I see what
suggesting.
you're saying.
Just to try to control the parking, yeah.
Parking is the biggest concern, for sure.
And if the only parking would be in the driveway, I can't see that. To me, that seems like that would be a big problem. Because,
Oh, okay. So if we wanted to prohibit them in a certain plat, then like on here where we have, it's really hard to see, I apologize, but, where we have areas hashed, we would prohibit them in that neighborhood or that plat.
Well, go to that one where you have the stars. Can you go back to that? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you had,
this is the cottage one here.
yeah, go up to the other one. That one's got more. I mean, is there any, would it be appropriate to say that you couldn't have two successive homes, or, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that doesn't look too bad.
no,
But if all of a sudden in 10 years, a lot of people are buying these up and making duplexes, basically, and every one is a star.
well, about the only way that would
You
happen
pick and
is if
choose,
the
though.
state
Yeah.
even got more restrictive or more demanding.
And a lot of those there's not even the side yards are like non-existent.
Yeah.
So how are they even accessing them unless
So those
unless
scarred
it's
ones
family?
are the only ones we see feasible, right?
No, the ones with the stars are the ones that have
Oh,
a
they
second
already have
kitchen.
it.
Well, no, they have a second kitchen,
Right now,
yes.
I see.
Those are the ones that told you they have a second kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually pulled the permit and on the
They pulled the
plans,
permit,
it's
we
a-
recorded a notice on the property, yes.
Do they sign an affidavit to not rent that out?
Second kitchen, you just could.
You know, when we talked about
Yeah, I'm sure.
Airbnbs, we talked about distances in cul-de-sacs, not putting, I mean, the concept is what I was thinking of saying. You don't want to restrict anybody's use of their property, but
And I can see how other cities, some of these more dense communities, I can research what they've done.
I think that would
That
be
would be
really
interesting.
good.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about putting separation distances on them, but, like with Airbnb, that's a commercial use kind of a hotel you're bringing into a neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to think about the poor guy, you know, let's say a guy buys one, he's living in it, and he's got the next two on his right, and the next two, and the next two on his left are all basement
Yeah.
accessory apartments. Where in heck he's gonna park?
No, it's,
No, I agree. My two houses down for me, they have an accessory apartment, so they've got 4 cars. And the guy next to me's got 6 cars.
And
And
it's probably in a lot bigger lots than these.
no, my lot's the same as this, and so it does get crowded,
Does it?
but
I would say it gets, I mean, our,
You got- But is your street
yeah, on
wider?
our,
yes.
See, that's the thing, is you've got a lot of parking on the street. But your street is wider than 29 feet.
Yeah.
but even when the street's wide, I mean, I think of 570, you know, that I think every single one of those except for one either has family members or an accessory apartment. You know, I mean, the street's packed.
Which road is this?
570, the one that goes into the new development, into Songbird Cove, all those, I mean,
Oh, yes.
every single one of those, I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 cars per house, you know, and 2 on the street for the accessory apartment at all times. If you allow it, my opinion, that they'll come, and then you're gonna have a parking nightmare in something like that, because it's already a kind of a parking. So I kind of like our current ordinance of something saying, well, if they can have it, if they can provide the parking, you know, and I would be somewhat strict on that, you know, not just say, just a driveway probably shouldn't count. If they could get some other type of parking, then great.
Like over there on 570 that you're talking about, did people not park their cars in their garages?
Well, every single one of them has off-street parking they were required to have off-street parking, but none of the
Tenants.
tenants use it.
I see.
It's more convenient for them to park on the road and walk in and sometimes it's through a gated area, or it's not even really that accessible.
And how wide is that street?
That would be your 34 feet of asphalt. That would be a 50-foot right-of-way over on 570.
Yeah.
I guess the saving grace here is that some of these homes wouldn't even have enough side yard for a staircase.
Refresh my memory on what we added that,
We talked about that about
Yes,
4 or 5 meetings ago.
Yeah, so we
Each of
passed
was
that,
4 feet.
so what we were using was we were applying our R120 zone to the stairways down there. So someone was on a 5-foot setback, they're putting in a 4-foot stairway on the side of their home. And so what we said was that you have to maintain at least 4 feet on the side yard.
outside of
What I
the,
remembered.
Yeah, so that,
Restrict
so
some of
that-
these people.
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
yeah, that would eliminate
go out the
anybody in
back of the
Plat C for
property,
sure.
or out back of the home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Plat C wouldn't be able to do anything.
If cars are parked on both sides of that street, can a fire truck still get through?
Yes.
It can.
Teeth, yeah.
Okay. Because how wide are the ones in the original 55 plus? Do you know how wide those streets are?
They're all 29
They're
feet.
really narrow.
Oh, those ones, in the original 55 that's like over by Creekside Village?
Oh, no,
I
sorry.
think those might be even narrower. I'm just curious.
Are those 55 plus?
Yeah, this is 55 plus right here.
Are they deed restricted, so there actually is 55
They are,
plus?
they actually are 55 plus. Maybe there's 2 or 3 exceptions or
Oh,
something.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Plat C is not.
No, no.
Plat C is a lot of families.
This was a different developer though.
Yeah, we switched.
What you're talking about is the original
Right.
Yeah.
55 and over.
I know their streets are really narrow though, but yeah, I was just curious. Cause that would be my biggest concern is for like, if they have that much parking and it's overflowing, can we still get fire trucks through?
I think you'd have parking all over the street, and it would be really hard
Yeah.
to navigate the streets.
Or then do they start parking trailers that are wider and?
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, here, this is a situation where we've already acquiesced on density per se, some of the residents of Lindon. We've already done that, so, I mean, for us to stick with our guns and say this is gonna be part of the 25, I have no heartburn over that either.
I don't either.
And that's kind of what I feel about like Songbird Cove and stuff. That was part of the compromise, is that there would not be accessory apartments in there, because that would just then increase the density even more.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that was the big discussion on the density, and so if you allow them, you've just,
That's all true and well said, but it feels to me like the state is trumping things that we
Yeah.
might say.
Well, I don't know,
Yeah.
because we're still under that 25% of what?
Yeah, we're still in
What's,
compliance at this time. That could change.
And
Well, as
Lindon,
long as we're in compliance, I'd say we just hold steady then until we're not.
What about Creekside Village? Here's some aerial photos of these homes. You know, they do have larger side yards. Now, you couldn't do a basement apartment, but you could do an addition onto your home or do a detached accessory apartment.
Yeah.
These,
Few of the lots, maybe.
yeah, a few of
Quite a
them.
few of them, I think, could fit a detached, and lots of people have added on because it's too expensive to move. Be
And,
interesting.
on that, I guess if they could meet the off-street parking,
Yeah.
then I'm not totally opposed to thinking about that, but I would think they would need to provide an off-street on the side of the house type parking like currently.
not just in their driveway.
Not just in their driveway, but actually off.
Right.
They are the wider street of 34.
Yeah.
So yeah, Creekside Village is probably one of them down there that is most,
But probably least likely to happen, because
No basement.
It-
Yeah.
basements are lot cheaper to finish than add-ons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be few and far between, I think.
if they did it there, most likely it seems like it'd be a mother-in-law pad or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in that case, they don't need the secondary dwelling. They don't need the ADU, they just need to
Apply for the building
apply for
permit.
the building permit for the,
Right.
for the
Right.
granny flat, you know, so it doesn't really
Right.
need that. But, I mean, that's not to say somebody won't try.
Right.
Just going back to Anderson Farms, you know, some of these lots, you know, you could put a parking stall, this is not showing, but you know, someone could add a drive approach here for an extra
Yeah.
parking stall.
On a corner lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're saying it, you know, I mean, what are your thoughts if they could meet the parking requirement?
That's my
Then-
biggest concern. If we could meet that, then
If they could meet the off-street parking?
Yep.
I mean, mostly those are only gonna happen on a corner lot.
Right, my only concern there is, are we creating an idea that it's possible? When we know there's only gonna be 15 lots in there that are possible. But they see someone doing it, and so that, I mean, we've got that problem anyway, people are just doing it, but that would be my only concern there, is saying the corner lots can do it because they can park off the street.
Like, let me measure this one.
Am I getting the sense that Mike, that you want to amend this to allow ADUs? I mean, I'm just sort of getting a sense from you that the city.
He's just trying to keep us in compliance.
Yeah.
No, I think we're seeing them down there already. I just wanna I just wanna see if that's something, you know, is that something we wanna
Now,
address?
if usually this is complaint driven, you know, if somebody's illegally renting out an apartment, are they following up? Is our code enforcement person following up on?
So we had one in the,
Why don't you come up here?
in the gardens, the 55 plus states, the garden estates. We had a complaint, actually 2 complaints there, and we followed up with them. One of them, turns out it was the owner's son was going to college, and his friends were coming over a lot for parties, and that was the problem. They weren't actually living there, allegedly, you know. And then the other one, this guy was, he was renting out his home to his sister and his brother-in-law and his parents were living in the basement. So it was still family, you know. So we have followed up with complaints, but so far we haven't had to kick anyone out, which is great for us.
But if there is a complaint filed, then the code enforcement's followed with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are the only two that I can that I've done, and I've been here for most of the lifetime of this project. So only two so far complaints. That is, I'm sure I've heard, you know, people have called in and said there's just so many down here, but I don't want to, you know, tattle on my neighbor or something. So I'm sure there's much more. I just don't know how to find them. And the second kitchens are a good start, but it's also, I think it's also, you know, the people who put in the walkouts. I would think that those people are more likely to have an accessory apartment, but there's only so much you can do, you know, short of actually going in there and, you know, staying for a day and seeing what happens, which we're not going to do, you know.
I'm sure there's probably some people, since the side yard walk-ins can be done behind the gates, there's probably people putting those in without even the city knowing.
I hope not, because that wouldn't be good for building code.
Yeah.
Right.
Hope people are being honest too.
Well,
Business
I have no
dealings.
problem in the larger Creekside, because we can justify that by saying it's wider streets. If they can say they meet the parking requirements, the off-street parking requirements, as the code currently is, that's one. So if we want to make people feel like we're somewhat flexible, that would be the only place where I think it might be reasonable to allow it if they can comply. Otherwise, all these 29-foot streets, I would recommend no.
Well, it's like Steve says on 570, all of them have the required parking, but they don't use it.
Yeah.
I think that's very typical of almost all accessory
And
apartments.
Yeah, well, it certainly is where we are.
Get our
too.
renters to use the offsite. I mean, I guess we could go out and deflate their tires. But we don't have renters anymore, but, you know, but it was more convenient for them to park on the side than on the side of the house where the parking was, and so they.
Right. So, I mean, I think that would be the very same way this would be, even if it were somehow provided in these really narrow roads and the really smaller lots. I don't think it would be used.
Okay.
And then we would have a real mess on the streets. That's my thoughts, I don't know.
And these people who bought down there, they really didn't want apartment living. And that would give it the apartment feel, you know, where they're fighting for apartment parking space and.
And I would say that's probably the same thing with Songbird Cove or these
Yeah,
other, I mean, because
absolutely.
it's already gonna be probably a parking, with the townhomes, there'll probably gonna be some parking issues to start with, and then if you add accessory apartments to those homes, they don't have a lot of frontage. I mean, that would just then create an excessive parking problem for the townhomes. So my recommendation would be I would probably just say stay as is. But I guess I'd be open to Creekside if.
I mean, I've got plenty to do, so I
It's
just,
easier to say no.
I'd rather have you give me a straw poll or something saying leave it how it is, or
I'd say leave it out.
Leave it how it is.
do a little more research on fields, on the creek side, and
I
I'd say
think
in
that's the general feeling.
leave it how it is?
Yep.
Okay.
once you have more state regulations, then reconsider, right?
But just my own thoughts for whatever they're worth, I don't think state regulations are gonna require you to create a parking traffic disaster.
No, I wouldn't be so
They
sure.
don't
But
care.
they may.
They
They
care about,
may.
all they care about is density.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could happen.
I mean, there's tons of communities that have to allow them, and, you know, they only have lots that are 7,000 square feet.
And
And
Okay.
we can
well,
also say
like I
for,
said, whatever it's worth.
for that area, at least for now, I say no, but because already the traffic getting in and out of there is really difficult. PG's gonna be building how many units, apartments down there on our new interchange?
Probably, another 2,000 doors.
Right.
Right, and so we're talking,
1,000 for sure, and I
So-
know another project that's trying to go another 1,000 over there.
so if we put more in there, it's like, this Anderson Farm is gonna be really difficult to get out until they start adding more intersections up, like Anderson Boulevard and stuff like that, till that's signalized and they can get out.
And as an update on that, we met with UDOT a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago, and they are starting to design that, and hopefully this summer that will go in at Anderson Boulevard.
Oh, good.
Be great.
The light,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Good.
Because there's no, 700's our only access out. So
Yeah.
it's kind of tricky.
I met with developers on,
I really wish
that bought the Evermore property out of bankruptcy, and, I mean, they're planning on another 1,000 doors there.
So Evermore, that,
The Disneyland or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
oh, it went into bankruptcy? I knew they were,
Yeah.
Oh,
1,000 units there. That interchange is gonna be overrun again before we know it.
Tear it down, or are they gonna do?
It's not
Yeah,
even
they
done.
might try and incorporate a little bit of it, but.
Well, I appreciate your feedback on that.
yeah, I know. We never went either.
I
Like,
think
kids
we
wouldn't have
pretty
had
much
that.
all have similar feelings. Possibly Creekside, you know?
Yeah.
But the others, I don't know, when I drive down through there, it seems really tight.
Yep.
You know, the way it is, but those developments are nice.
My
Yeah,
daughter's
that's
is great.
nice
I
down
love
there.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did a great job. The only ones that are really tight are those little condos that they shoved there with, what's this, rows of garages for,
and they were supposed to be they're
Yeah.
occupied and they're rented.
yeah. Yeah, we've sort of been, you know, that 55 plus, I think we sort of got taken advantage of a little bit by Ivory.
Yeah, well, I think that's the discussion you wanted, right?
Yep.
So, we'll just move on from there.
Hey, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for doing all that research. Thank you.
Yeah.
right.
I'm wondering, would you be okay if I was excused? I'd like to run to my daughter's high school basketball game, and
Absolutely.
if Mary
I
can,
think we're
Mary
pretty
can
much finished. I
handle
think you
everything
should
from
go.
here.
Yep,
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Hope she wins.
I just have one quick question, though. Aren't we all supposed to do some online training that we haven't done? Can Mary go ahead with us on that?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good luck.
We'll have to do duties and powers or something.
Yeah, and we're supposed to do that before the end of the year, and I know I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Maybe she could send it to us one more time.
Yeah.
Another reminder.
A reminder.
Sit down.
Has anybody done it yet?
I
Christmas
have.
break.
I haven't done the.
We just put it on, 3 times speed.
So, let's see.
Put 'em on.
No, let's do it on our own.
Yeah.
Looks like,
Do whatever I want, working in the garage.
a few people just need to, so Sharon and Steve and Rob, all you need to do is watch that one Pals and Duties. I know, Rob, you've got beyond, hours, but that's just the one that's required, and then Karen, you came a little bit later, so you don't have as many meetings as everyone else, so I'll just send you one other, little thing. And then,
That's right.
and I think Powers and Duties also, I'm fairly sure
Should be
they,
all I have to do too.
yeah, and have you already sent me stuff as
No,
well?
not on
Okay.
that, I haven't.
I'd kind of forgotten about it until.
Let me send out one more, email. I'll write that down. The Christmas party is this weekend, if whoever's RSVP'd,
This-
you guys attend.
RSVP's too late.
I don't know. Do you know, Brittany?
I don't know. You might as well just RSVP.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
email Alicia.
You should
Hey,
Plans
Adams.
change, I wanna
I
come.
wasn't gonna be able to come, but plans have changed, so.
Always have way too much food, so
And
so
the few that
surely
can't come
2 more people.
Yeah, there'd be some
Said they
no-shows.
could. Yeah, you should come.
Yeah, there'll be no-shows, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Have something come up.
The
they
only
wanna
other
wear out.
The only other thing I have, and then I'll turn it to you, is that, gosh, I drove by Tim Clyde's property today, and he's really,
Cracking?
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
But the berm's
I mean, I'm
gone
sure
and-
you've seen it, but
Yeah.
boy, things are being
Right next
really
to my
leveled
office.
out, and it looks like he's really working.
I'm fairly sure the conditional use permit, or maybe not a conditional use permit, but one of the conditions we put on that site plan is that the first phase has to be done by the end of this year.
Right.
And so, we'll see
Yeah,
how
I
that
believe that was
happens.
storm drain. He's got the pipe there and he's cleared the berm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And that's been in a couple days.
yeah.
Moving with the purpose.
He's moving with the purpose, so we'll see if it,
Yeah,
see if we can
for
get it done
sure.
by New Year's.
Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to bring up? Anyone? And Mary, do you have?
Kathy Moosman's retirement party is tomorrow.
Noon.
Yeah, at noon, 12 to 1, right here. So anyone who can come, that would be great.
I'll be there.
And then one last thing is we have a little bit of a drought of land use applications. The only one we have planned for our next meeting on January 9th is the ICO development, the Anderson Farms Apartments. They're working through a few final small things. If you remember, they were supposed to come earlier this year before you guys, and then UDOT at the last minute said, no, we need a traffic study, so they decided to, just wait a little bit longer. We've gotten that traffic study, and we'll talk about that on January 9th. And yeah, so that's the one thing we have planned.
This bank though, because it sounded like they were wanting to get on the agenda right away, and now
Yeah.
there's nothing.
Nothing on the bank. We haven't heard anything from them. I really hope it works out, though. Putting something in front of that would be awesome. But yeah,
And so we don't have another PC meeting this month, right?
No, not until the 9th.
it would have been December 26th. So
I want to do that.
you don't have to come. We're all off
I'll be
that
in
day.
Bravo,
So.
actually.
Really, well, you, are you going there for Christmas?
The day after.
Oh, how fun. Oh, that sounds really fun.
So I have one question about those apartments. Where will their access point be to 700, or will they have another route to get to Geneva? Do you know?
So you can kind of see the configuration here. I'll zoom in a tiny bit more. But this larger parcel on the south, that's going to be, I don't know why my cursor isn't showing, but that larger parcel on the south is going to be the where the 380 apartments are, and they'll have an access up to 1700. Sorry, this is called 1700 West, I think, or 1200 West. Anyways, they'll have an access up to 700 North. This wouldn't be signalized because it's too close to Geneva and Anderson Boulevard over here. But they'll have an access up there, and they should have an access through a neighborhood or something to get to Anderson Boulevard as well. And then
That's the Ivory.
they'll also, through Ivory. And then they'll also have this access to Geneva. And there's also supposed to be a light there. We've it's warranted and everything. The only issue is with the railroad.
Okay. That's great.
And all of that apartment area's all been approved, the site plan and all that kind of stuff. So there's really, I mean, it's,
In the development agreement, it says that because every single Ivory phase has kind of been really thought out already, so it wasn't as much
Right.
work on the part of staff or the commission. But with the multifamily apartments, it says we need to work together in good faith with the landscaping, with the setbacks, with pretty much everything, the architectural design. So
Mary, remind me what we did approve, how many doors we approved?
So for the
Have
Anderson
700
Farms
for better
Apartments,
access.
in the development agreement, we allow 380.
Okay.
So there will be, I can't remember how many buildings, but there'll be 2-story buildings, 3-story buildings, and 4-story buildings. And we've, something that's also been holding it up is fire access. Want to make sure there's enough fire hydrants for everyone.
So it looks like
So
there is
by
that
January
access
9th,
right there
it
then.
should be good.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion regarding the light rail eventually in there? I know there has been, but has there been any movement on that or anything?
Yeah, we met with UTA the other day, and mostly about bus stops on State Street and how to make them nicer and easier to use. But it's kind of been flip-flopping, that's my understanding, is between BRT or tracks, and you don't get both, not within a few years of each other. But it sounds like, I know that it kind of flipped the way of tracks for a little bit because of the Point of the Mountain development, and they're wanting tracks really badly there. So if tracks goes there, then maybe we just bring it all the way down, as part of it. But it sounded like with UTA the other day that they're going a little bit more towards the better service along State Street, upgraded service, and then moving to eventually to the full BRT situation instead of the tracks.
If that track that was extended, what would it service? How far does that track go? I'm not that familiar. Where would that track?
Yeah.
Would it service?
So part of the Utah city plan, I'm pretty sure, I think they took it out here. Yeah, so this, you can kind of see this curvy line. See this curvy line? I think part of Vineyard's master plan is to bring it down here to this whole big Utah city development. And this is the front runner.
Okay, so then it would open up past us.
Yeah. I don't know if it's meant to go
Utah
past
City,
Vineyard,
Utah.
that's all I've heard.
Doesn't really serve Lindon that, we'll do the Anderson Farms area, but
Well, it'll serve our village, Lindon Village, if we do
Yeah.
anything, do anything in Lindon, if we get traction in Lindon Village.
it would do that.
Yeah,
Service,
depending on what
make a big
happens.
deal for,
But as far as moving people to other places, BRT makes more sense down State Street.
It does make sense, with the county. If you want to go somewhere in the county, you're gonna have to use BRT because the tracks probably won't.
Tracks,
Same with the front runner, right? That's usually to get to Davis County and back
well,
instead of.
I am looking forward to better State Street bus, because I would
Bus.
ride, I tried riding the bus to work, and it's really nice once I get to BRT. It's a pain.
Up until then, it's just a pain.
It's,
Yeah.
if the bus is 5 minutes early and I miss it, I wait for an hour at the mall to get another bus, and it's just not, it's just, so I
It's not
don't do it.
feasible. Yeah.
It's not usable, but if they could make it usable, I would ride the bus every day to work.
Yeah. I think that's UTA's goal, is to show people that it can be easy. It's not easy right now, but it can be easy to ride the bus. But that's it.
If you don't have
Yeah.
anything else, and no one else does either, let's have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We did pretty good.
Those kids won't be in bed, they're gonna have to go
No, they will.
You
If
gotta
I
go home
hold
and
off,
babysit
they're
now.
they're gonna be asleep.
You gotta go
She's
babysit.
fighting.